Hello, my name is Elizabeth Thiel, and in this video I'm going to go over the fate of lactate. So the things that I'm going to be going over is the major steps of a lactate pathway, how the lactate pathway is affected by exercise intensity and training adaptations, how lactate and lactate acid differ, and if lactate can be used metabolically, the consequences of lactate accumulation on our ability to sustain exercise, and other factors at work at the cellular level that influence exercise cessation. So in regards to the lactate pathway, energy is made from hydrogen oxidation and provides the ATP fuel. The lactate from any working muscle gets oxidized by muscle fibers in that same area. When the production equals the lactate oxidation, the lactate level becomes stable and intensity and oxygen consumption can increase. So once we hit that stable spot, then the sky's the limit on what you can do. So here we have possible factors that can relate to the lactate threshold. So inadequate oxygen, anaerobic metabolism where the lactate is up, delayed state of your VO2 max, buffering, minute ventilation, and then respiratory compensation. So the lactic pathway is affected by exercise intensity and training adaptations by the onset of blood lactate accumulation, or OBLA. So this is the highest consumption of exercise intensity achieved. So this helps us more than VO2 max. This could result from an imbalance between the rate of glycolysis and mitochondrial respiration. It could be decreased redox potential. It could be decrease in blood oxygen and decrease in blood flow to skeletal muscles. So also two factors that influence how well your performance is would be the VO2 max and the OBLA. But like I said, the OBLA is more helpful for us than the VO2 max. And then if we look at the next slide here, these are also major variables related to the maximum oxygen consumption that we can have. So for example, as these running things are happening, as we're running, how it goes into our muscles, so the capillary density, our VO2 max, our heart rate max, like all of these things happen for how hard that we can work. And then here on the last side that we have this pulmonary ventilation, blood lactate concentration, and oxygen consumption during exercise. So you can see that they're both increasing as we go, and what you're trying to do is trying to get this blood lactate threshold as close to your point of OBLA as you can. I want to also talk about the difference between lactic and lactic acid. So lactic acid is an acid that the body disassociates with as quickly as it can, and it disassociates to make a hydrogen ion. Then the remaining compound binds with sodium or potassium to form an acid called lactate. So in general, most lactic acid disassociates and forms into lactate. So our body mostly uses lactate and not that lactic acid. So lactate can be used metabolically by lactate being produced in fast twitch muscle fibers. So that would be weightlifting or any kind of fast-paced, quick movement, which in turn turns into pyruvate, which turns into acetyl-CoA, which then turns into a citric acid cycle, which is aerobic energy metabolism. So if we go ahead and look at these next two slides, this next slide. This top one is the relationship between the blood pH and the blood lactate concentration during rest and increasing your intensity short term. So as the blood pH is decreasing, then the blood lactate is increasing. And here, the blood pH and the blood lactate concentration, when we talk about it, as a percentage, they're kind of both going separate ways. So the last thing that I want to talk about is the accumulation of metabolites in H+. That makes our body buffer this acid and influences how we can continue to exercise. So this increases in H+ from carbon dioxide and lactate formation, which makes pH regulation much more difficult during hard exercise. Also, acid-base regulation becomes more difficult as well during short all-out efforts. So the pH lowering is the reasons why we become super uncomfortable, so nauseous, dizzy, headaches, all those things happen because the pH is lowering. So here is my reference that I used for this video. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, please let me know.